Welcome everybody, my name is Jones Goode and we're on the road to reawakening. It'll be December 14 at Willetton Stadium and the man with me, Hayden Zenith, will be in one of the feature matches at reawakening. I'm talking of course about the Invitational Tournament final. Hayden, welcome.
Namaste sir, namaste to all of you. I hope you enjoy listening to this interview in your car or on your phone, wherever you are. I hope you enjoy it and yeah. Let's do it. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, pal.
No, thank you for sitting down to have this interview with me. It's really in two parts. I want to talk, of course, about the big match at Reawakening, but importantly, I want to talk about your journey to get there. But before we do, just a broad question about that match at Reawakening. If you win it, you're going to get a future EPW title shot.
Yep.
Is it fair to say that this is the biggest match of your career?
Absolutely. For me and in my career, opportunities for the EPW title are few and far between. It's been 11 years since I've had an opportunity at the EPW title in a one-on-one matchup. And the only way for me to get to that position, to get to that spot, is to win the Invitational Tournament. So, yeah, it's the pressure's on at the moment. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So let's talk a bit about your journey, how we got here. I want to go all the way back, okay? We're talking about one of those origin story questions.
Sure.
Pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Why?
Growing up, I always liked kung fu movies. Bruce Lee, you know, big time. And as I got older and, you know, early teens, I discovered wrestling, and it was kind of like watching, you know, the old Bruce Lee movies, but, you know, a little bit more dramatic in its own way, and, you know, characters and, you know, just the athleticism. It just really drew me in. And I probably went about 14, I was like, yep, no, I'm going to be a wrestler. And, you know, everyone said to me, it's probably not a good idea, my family and stuff, but I just did what I wanted to do, and here I am now. And, geez, I started training in 2008, so how many years is that? Almost 17 years, I think, if my math's right. It's a long time.
So 2008, Are we talking with EPW or somewhere else?
I did do a small stint of training before I started with EPW. Not for too long. It was, you know, maybe 2 or 3 training sessions, and I was just waiting for that email to tell me that I'd been accepted for the old Dynamite Factory tryouts, because back then, once a year, they would do a 2-day tryout, and so if you got through the tryouts, you got in, and that was the most grueling 2 days of my life. Even till this day, that was the most cognitively demanding 2 days I've ever experienced.
And who were the people putting you through your paces in those couple of days?
David Storm, FN Carnage, Tyler Jacobs, and Bobby Marshall. They were the main 3. On day 2, I do specifically remember Devlin Reeves as well.
Hardest chopping man in wrestling?
Yeah, and at the very end, they did offer for people to get into the ring to take a chop, and I absolutely was the only person who went, nope. Yeah, but it's funny, those 2 days and, you know, everything that sort of followed that sort of not only just shaped how I would perceive wrestling and how I kind of approach everything, but also just in life, you know, it kind of shaped me to be the person that I am today.
How?
It's the determination, you know, believing in and acting upon the things that you love, you know, not taking things for granted. When opportunities come your way, you have to make the most of it, you know, perseverance, hard work, not always expecting to get the result that you want, but still pushing through, never giving up. Yeah, it's like testing your resolve, but like in life, you know, it's like just got to keep pushing through, you know, because once you get to the one point, there's always something next, you know, and you always got to keep moving on forward, but you have to keep yourself together, you know, you've got to work through it. And actually, funny enough, like through my wrestling career, you know, there was a period of time in there where I did struggle quite a lot. and and started making the wrong decisions because I wanted too much too early. But as you get older, you look back and you're like, oh, geez, But that's its own thing, which I'm sure if we're chronicling things throughout my career, I can kind of expand on that a bit as we go. Yeah.
Definitely love to hear more of the detail. I guess the next step for me, asking about your story, is you go from being a training at the Dynamite Factory to being involved in the main shows.
Yeah.
What did it take to make that transition?
What did it take? It took time. It took a lot of heart. When I come up, there were a lot of people that were far ahead of me. Wrestling didn't come naturally to me. And I remember it used to bother me, seeing other people who would just pick things up, like immediately. And for me, it was like a struggle. But, I kept at it and I kept working hard. And then, William Darcy spotted me at training one day and said, you kind of fit what, Kyle Sterrier and himself were all about. And, I was young, I was enthusiastic, I definitely had a brass attitude, very cheeky, and they needed someone to do a lot of their dirty work, and I didn't care really, I wanted a shot, and so, yeah, it was probably stepped above a few people, or stepped past a few people that should have been in line in front of me when I got that spot. But it's kind of like right place, right time. I fit what William Darcy and Kyle Sterrier needed for them to be successful. So.
And this was part of a group that they were calling the Entourage.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, the Entourage. Yep.
Now, when you joined that group, we know Kyle Sterrier, our former EPW champion. When did he get the gold? During your involvement with the Entourage, did he have it when you first joined?
No,
or were you part of that journey?
I was definitely a part of that journey, but I got kicked out maybe about a year before he won the EPW title, and that's because I was getting to a point where I was not appreciating the way I was being treated. It definitely was the doormat in their eyes, like someone to like in a literal sense, like I was a doormat. Like Kyle wiped his feet on me to get into the ring, and there just came a point where I just couldn't do it anymore. And I learned a lot in that time, but I was like, I'm out. And I guess after that split, things kind of just fell into place for Kyle Sterrier, for him to win the EPW title, yeah.
And how did it feel to be watching on, knowing that someone who was the leader of a group that you were a part of had gone on to achieve the ultimate success?
It's funny, because by that point, Generation Zero had formed, and so where my focus was, and the things that I wanted to achieve by that point, it was a bit of a tunnel vision. I didn't really pay attention to what was going on that side of things. Yeah.
So let's talk about Generation Zero then. First of all, who's a part of Generation Zero?
All right. Well, originally it was just myself and the Don Michael Morleone, and after the Entourage split, I was trying to find my feet, find out who am I, like, as a person? Who am I as a wrestler? Who am I just, in general? And I had gone into the Invitational Tournament in 2014. I'd made it to the finals. Unfortunately, I didn't win. And then I found myself on a bit of a losing streak where, I had such an amazing run. I travelled to America, I trained with some of the best wrestlers in the world. I come back, I had this amazing run, and then...
And sorry to interrupt you, but as part of that run, it had started back in 2013, where you actually had a shot at the EPW title.
That's right, yeah. And that was, the fallout of the Entourage. Had these, EPW title shot opportunities, and there were a few in there, and, it's just... Yeah, I mean, it's funny to look back on because once I didn't really appreciate where actually I was at that point in time. To be 22, 23 years old and to be, in main events for the EPW title, that's not a common occurrence. Even to now, that's not a common occurrence. And I didn't appreciate or understand the gravity of what I was in, and then
it all fell apart a
it
little bit.
all kind of fell apart a little bit, and then the reality set in after I started losing that like I've made a mistake, like where am I going wrong? And that's where the Don Michael Morleone stepped in, and he said, look, you've had people guide you in the past, they're not the right ones for you, I'm the right one for you. And so I said, okay, and it definitely went against my moral code in a lot of, my behaviours to try and get to the top. But it worked out, became 3-time EPW Tag Team Champion as a part of Generation Zero. And as time went on, we became a very, despite our poor attitude, the fans loved us. And so we brought in Scotty Ryan, and then we brought in Alison Cruz. Scotty Ryan won the Coastal Championship. The Don won the EPW Championship. And during that time, I was so proud of everyone. I was the tag team champion. It was just...
It was the third time, wasn't it, where you won the championship, the tag team championship with Alison Cruz?
That's right, yeah. First two with the Don, and then, the last one there was with Alison Cruz, which was a really, really cool moment. Reawakening, win the tag team championships. It was just, amazing. It's crazy to think that was 7 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've covered a lot of ground there, and Generation Zero, fair to say, has been a very important part of your career.
Massive, yeah.
But the very first time you won the titles, it's 2016, it's you and the Don. What did it feel like to finally get that taste of EPW gold?
Bit overwhelming. There was always a lot of doubt in my own self of like what I could truly accomplish, and that's probably been, quite at my detriment, not being able to actually see where my abilities actually are. And I think for a little while, especially when I was in that downward slope after the Invitational Tournament, and not winning, I lost that confidence, and to then win the gold from being where I, at this real big low to, within about a year or so to becoming the tag team champion was just spectacular.
So that first title, then you talked about how much it meant to you.
Yeah.
But then what did it also feel like to lose the titles for the first time?
Well, it definitely wasn't a long reign. If memory serves me correct, it was 94 days. I don't know why I remember that. It was a bit devastating. But then I also felt very confident that we'd get them back, which we did. So, it's kind of one of those, it's unfortunate in that moment, you'd be disappointed, but you can't let that consume you. You've got to move forward and get those titles back, and that's what we did. So.
And you did, and like you say, now 3-time EPW tag champions. So you and Alison Cruz have the tag gold.
Yep.
Scotty's got the Coastal Championship.
Yep.
And then the Don, he's achieved the ultimate.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts looking on when you see Don holding the EPW Championship over his head?
Proud. Proud because when Generation Zero formed, we had a bad attitude. There was a particular way we went about things, And somewhere along that journey, I feel like, things shifted and the way we went about things changed. As the fans got behind us and started supporting us, our behaviours changed, And when he accomplished that, he did that obviously with the support of, Generation Zero, but he did that on his own. He didn't do that with any help. He didn't do that, And he stood there, with his boy, in front of the crowd, and for me, as his friend, I was at the time his friend. I was really proud of him. unfortunately, as time went on through his reign, jealousy definitely started to seep in, and yeah, that was a bit unfortunate.
Yeah, how did all that finish up? And what is your relationship now with Don?
So I at the time I wanted to see the best for Don, and I wanted him to hold on to that belt, and and I didn't think that the way that he was doing things was going to work, and that was probably because of the jealousy. I didn't want to see him do well. I don't know. Probably haven't really honestly figured it out. Like, there was a lot of emotions during that time as his reign went on. And then, unfortunately, I did cost him that title. And, things kind of went pear-shaped after that. Now, look, we're not the best of friends or anything like that. Him and D&T, I mean, the way that he is now and who I am now, we're completely different people with totally different ideologies on what wrestling is and, what being a person is. And, so we're definitely in two different spaces there, for sure.
So you talked about D&T, that's the tag team with Don and Chris Target. But after Generation Zero broke up, you went and found another tag team partner as well, Delcano.
Yeah. So it's funny how the Zencano experience formed. So in 2019, after Generation Zero split, I went to India, and I had an amazing experience, made lots of friends, and I really started to find myself. And one of the messages that I felt within myself is that for my career to change, I needed to change. But I had done so many horrendous things throughout my whole wrestling career that how do I guess in a sense, like, how do I convince people that I'm not the person that I was before?
Yeah.
And I could see Delcano going down that same path that I had gone down, where things aren't working out, start to make some real poor choices, and then, next thing you know, you're not the person that you thought you once were. So one day, he lost to Tyler Jacobs in the Invitational Tournament, and I said to him, I think, we should work together, and he was very reluctant. The fans definitely were very reluctant on that idea because they didn't trust me, and why should they? And it's funny because me trying to change his direction and where I could see him going, it didn't work. And in the end, that was just meant to be. That's probably who he's always been. Maybe him being the nice guy was just a front, for the horrible person that he actually was. And I've spent a lot of time with that man. And as time went on, I realised that there was something very not genuine about him. And it was heartbreaking because for a little bit of time, we were quite tight.
And quite successful.
Successful.
In 2021, you won tag gold with Delcano.
That's right, yeah, became tag champs. And in that moment, when I won those tag titles with Delcano, I think that was probably more important than the previous three. Because for me, it was... I did it because I did it for the right reasons, all the previous reigns. I mean, when I won them with Allison Cruz, it definitely was like a feel good, we were the good guys, I guess. But the actual gravity of me winning it with Delcano is I felt like I'd finally, at that point, the fans could trust me, and I felt Delcano, who was not too sure, finally trusted me. And it was really emotional, I don't cry very often, but I shed a few tears after I won those tag titles. It meant a lot.
So ultimately, the tag team broke up.
Yep.
And you lost the titles.
Yep.
But this is where we get to I guess, the modern era of Hayden Zenith. We've talked about you being involved in the entourage. Fair to say you're on the lowest rung of that team.
Yep.
Being involved in Generation Zero. This
Yep.
time you've had some tag success. But it's kind of like you were part of someone else's leadership program, if you will.
Sure. Yeah.
Now, after the breakup of the Zenkano experience, you've put together your own stable,
Sure.
House of Free Spirits. Tell us about how that came to be.
So the House of Free Spirits is, it could be considered a stable. I think of it as a family. Sorry, I don't think it's a secret, but I'm a trainer at the EPW School of Pro Wrestling, and there are a few people in my time as a trainer that I really connected with, and I felt in my teachings they really took on board, and I wanted to give them opportunities for all their hard work that they might not get otherwise, but for the right reasons, you know. So initially it was Faisal Ali, you know, brought him in, and he was like my number one student at the time, and then I brought in the great George. Much to his chagrin, he wasn't too keen on it at first, but I said, you know, listen to me, come on in, you know, I've helped train you. I wasn't his sole trainer, but, you know, we worked a lot together. I said, look, come on, be part of the family, you know.
It's the second time you've used that word, family, to describe House of Free Spirits.
Yeah.
You didn't use that word to describe Entourage or Generation Zero.
No.
What's the difference?
So Generation Zero and, like, say, the Entourage, a lot of it, like, it's all about me, you know, it's all very selfish, you know, or everyone in that group, everything's about them, you know. This isn't about, House of Free Spirits isn't about me, it's about all of us, you know, and all of us coming up together, you know, the great George finding success, Faisal Ali finding opportunities, and as time went on, I brought in Harry this year, and, you know, he's got a massive future, both him and Faisal Ali, and I want to be able to provide those opportunities for them to be able to have, you know, a bright future in wrestling, and we're all like-minded, like, you know, the way that we treat each other when we hang out, you know, it's like family. Yeah.
So coming at it from an outsider's perspective,
Sure.
and you can describe it however you like, but
Yeah.
to me,
Yeah.
it looks like you are the leader of the House of Free
Okay.
Spirits.
Yeah.
Now, is that how you'd describe it?
Coach.
Coach. Okay.
Yeah, I'm coach. They all call me coach. Yeah, not the leader. There are no leaders. I'm just the coach. And in fact, the great George is my equal. He's just as much as a coach as I am. Yeah, and if you're looking at like terms of leaders, the great George and I would be the leader. If people wanted to describe it in those terms. But no, it's coach. Yeah, coach. It's a different dynamic than, say, your other stables. You know, it's not like I'm not leading from the front. You know, we're all leading together. You know, and sometimes we need to listen to one another to figure out what direction we need to go in. I don't always have the answers. You know.
So being a coach then,
Yeah.
in the House of Free Spirits, would you say that carries with it some sort of expectation around winning and
Absolutely.
around getting that EPW gold?
Absolutely.
And how do those expectations sit with you?
Well, as a coach, a good coach is someone who's successful. So winning meaningful matches, I mean, winning is one thing, but winning meaningful matches, that's the most important thing. Winning championships, that just solidifies that, yes, you know, I am that guy, you know, that has the ability to defeat, you know, the best around. And that means that there are a lot of lessons that we can learn from that, you know. And in fact, not winning high-profile matchups, how you respond to those situations is also just as important as the ones that you win. Because that rebound, you need to make sure that, you know, you keep on fighting so then you stay on top. So it's like, winning is important, but how you lose and how you respond is like just as important.
And we've seen both sides of that in the last year, and this is really what I want to finish on.
Yeah.
Because you've been on an absolute tear the last year, but your Invitational Tournament didn't start out with a win.
No.
But let's talk first of all, about this massive run that you've been on. I mean, I was there, October 2023, World Series Wrestling.
Yeah.
You defeat Matt Cardona.
Yeah.
You then, at EPW Vendetta, you have a chance to take on Del Cano in a street fight.
Yep.
You win.
Yep.
House of Free Spirits, we start seeing them at the EPW School of Pro Wrestling shows, winning.
Yep.
Get to the Invitational Tournament. It looks like it's all going to go your way. It doesn't start out that way. In fact, I think one of the early matches was against Robbie Hart, and you sustained quite a serious eye injury.
Yep.
So talk to me about fighting through that, working with that. How did you make it work?
So I just said before that what is just as important as winning is how you respond in times where you lose, in times of adversity. Yeah, I got, misted by, Robbie Hart. And, even before that, I had a draw. Me and the great George, we wrestled, went to a draw. Wrestled Chadwick Jackson, went to a draw. By that point, I could possibly be out. Then I wrestled Robbie Hart, get misted, legitimate, permanent damage to my left eye. I will never have perfect vision in that eye. My depth perception was affected. And then I had to wrestle for an eye patch for 4 or 5 months of this year. And somehow I managed to pull through. Found whatever it is inside of me, that fighting spirit, that soul, that spirit, and I pushed through. And I found a way, and it's how you respond to these things. When things aren't going to plan, how do you respond? And it was hard. And what was really important was that I didn't let my emotions get the better of me. You had to channel things in the right way. Your chakra alignments, and I'm all about this stuff. I had to make sure I had everything in check, because if I start getting wobbly about everything, start flipping out and getting upset, there goes my chances at anything,
And how did you manage to keep that, everything aligned?
Yeah.
Because you have been undefeated since you beat Elijah Henry, then you beat Robbie Hart in the quarterfinal of the Invitational Tournament, but then you're talking about your fellow coach, the great George. You face him in the semi-final. How do you keep it together when you're facing a great mate?
We had separate training camps. We decided we weren't going to interact with each other. We weren't going to train together because we knew, and anyone who knows the history of the great George and I, when it comes to wrestling each other, sometimes it does get out of control. Sometimes it does get quiet. From the both of us, we take it a little bit too far. It's that competitive spirit that's within us.
And we saw a little bit of that in that match.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we made an agreement. We put some parameters of what was and what wasn't allowed. We promised we wouldn't hit each other. It was just going to be just wrestling. Maybe a couple of incidents in there. He may have hit me. I hit him back. But we didn't let it escalate from there, And we wrestled. Because that's what we're good at. That's what we're the best at. And we know that, not many people can wrestle the way that we wrestle. And we wanted to give the fans something they could be impressed by, something that they've never seen before. But also for us, we wanted to know who is the best wrestler, the actual best wrestler. Doesn't take shortcuts, it doesn't need to punch, doesn't need to kick, who is the best wrestler? And, on that night, we figured it out. But in 6 months' time, we might need to do it again, and then we'll see.
Well, I look forward to seeing that match be rerun.
Yep.
But now we finish where we started. December 14, Invitational Tournament Final.
Yep.
Your opponent's CJL.
Yep.
Now, you know that there's not going to be any of this fair sportsmanship. He's going to do whatever he can to win.
Yeah.
So first of all, your thoughts on your opponent, CJL.
CJL, I think you're a cheat. I think if anyone should have been in the finals for your A block, it should have not have been you. It should have been James Hartness. You think that you're the smartest man in the business. You're the purveyor of potential. He thinks he knows everything. Well, the book that you read from, I once read from that book. I know what to expect. Don't think I'm going to walk in here just blind to the idea that you're going to try and do everything you can to steal this from me. It's not going to happen. I know you've asked me a question, but I'm being very direct to him right now, and I want him to know this. I'm going to kick your teeth in. That's my promise to you. My promise to you is that I'm going to make you work. You're going to have to find something within you that you didn't even know you had. Because I'm not going to lose. I've not spent my whole life, half my life, chasing this dragon to never catch it. I'm going to catch this dragon. And that dragon is the EPW Championship. And those hands to grab it is the Invitational Tournament trophy. So, I don't know. I'm just getting fired up.
You sound ready to go, Hayden.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to you wrestling that match. I wish you all the very best, and I thank you very much for joining me here today.
No worries. Thank you. Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
Thank you. Cheers.
There you have it, the Hayden Zenith interview. Make sure you grab your tickets now. December 14, Willetton Stadium. You've got to be there. This is probably going to be the match of the night. Hayden Zenith, he's been working hard for all these years. He finally gets his EPW title opportunity. We'll see how you go.
Yeah.
All the best.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.